Welcome to She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting. We're your hosts, Questian
and Nancy McClelland.
And every episode, we're digging into the real experiences, challenges, and unspoken truths of life in this profession.
Because if you've ever felt like you're the only one, you're not, and you shouldn't have to figure it out alone.
A very special thanks to our sponsors, Forwardly, Justine Lackey's The Incubator, and Keeper, for helping us bring these conversations to life, enabling us to share out loud what everyone's thinking and no one's saying.
Today's episode is called Don't Call Me Darlin. And we have a special guest with us, our fierce friend, Nicole Davis. We're going to talk about dominating in spaces that are traditionally attributed to men.
And speaking of dominating spaces, I can't think of a more qualified person to talk about this topic because I can say firsthand, and I'm pretty sure that Nancy will agree, that Nicole dominates whatever room she is in the best way possible with her amazing smile and her hilarious jokes, which we all love. Nicole leads Conscious Accounting, previously Butler Davis. You're going through a rebrand right now, right, Nicole?
That is right.
And also Delight Payroll with expertise that earned her a place on the Forbes top 200 CPAs in America. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo. Thank you.
We're so lucky to have you here. This is so cool. And I just learned that after reading the Forbes article published about you, that you have a first name other than Nicole. And I'm wondering, it's just as unusual as mine. And I'm wondering how it's possible that you have never shared this with me before. You're like,
I don't share it with anyone really. Like I may sneak it in a conversation every now and then, but there's a story behind that.
Well, it's out there now. Can you pronounce
it for us? It's a beautiful name.
Yes, it's Laphelia.
Laphelia.
It is beautiful. I'll trade you.
I like your name, Questian. We love launching each episode with a story, as our listeners know. And Nicole, I know you have one to share with us. That was the reason that this episode is titled Don't Call Me Darlin. You actually came up with this title, which we both love. I want to hear the story behind it.
All right. So I'm from the Deep South, from Georgia. And I vividly recall a prospect. It was an older gentleman. He was very kind. He was very polite, but he kept calling me darling. Now, I know somebody named Darling, but that was not my name. So I did correct him at the end, but for me, it just feels like when men generally they see someone, they see a pretty face, or they see just women in general, they see our face, but they tend to sidestep our expertise, right? And it wasn't just about like him knowing and saying my name. It was more so like, hey, I'm an equal here. Like you came to me. It wasn't the other way around. So call me Nicole, and then we can be good friends. So
yes,
I love that.
And I have had that kind of experience myself many times. And I am absolutely sure that 90% of our listeners have had that kind of experience where somebody, it's not that they're not kind, but it is, a microaggression.
A little bit.
Yeah. Aggression, definitely.
Yeah. I'm curious, how does it make you feel, or how did it make you feel when he did that?
So because I'm in Georgia, we use a lot of like honeys and sweetheart. And so for me, I wasn't offended per se, but since we're in a professional setting, I'm like, you need to call me by my name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are a force, a fearsome force. And you, as we said, you dominate whatever room that you are in. And we want to know, when talking about dominating, what does that mean to you specifically?
So I thought a lot about what dominating means to me specifically. So for me, dominating means agency. It means I am calling the shots. I'm writing my own tickets. I'm making the rules. Um, I am doing things my way. That's what dominating means for me. And just to add to that, I know we talked about well, you haven't mentioned it yet, but visibility, authority, freedom, power, all of that rolls up into like dominating for me. So it took me a long time to realize that real power isn't in a title, right?
So
Real power
true.
isn't in how much money you have. Real power is when you own who you are and you make everyone else also accept that person, right?
I
So
love that. You
you're defining it for yourself, and
Exactly.
you're making sure that they know what that definition is and that they're seeing you for who you are as opposed to,
The other way around.
Darlin.
Exactly. It's right. Because at the end of the day, we have to like, the old saying that you have to train people how to treat you, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of times people have these preconceived notions about who you are, and they tend to initially approach you like that. And
Mhm.
so for me, Question knows I set boundaries and I set them fast with people. Because
She
I
is
don't want
And I
much, much better at that than I am. And I like watch it and I see it happen and I'm just like, I need to do that and I need to be better. And I mean, I have definitely texted her before and said, like, oh wow, bravo. Like, I wish I could do that. Have I not?
you have, yes. So for me, it's all about owning my story so completely that the room moves to my rhythm. I'm not moving to theirs.
Ooh, I love that. As a dancer, of course, you describe anything in terms of rhythm, and I'm like, that's perfect. Sometimes we call that, dancing to the beat of someone else's drum
Mhm.
instead of our own. And
Right.
your dominating is about beating your own drum to your own rhythm, your own moves. Something that I talk about sometimes is the dance between bookkeepers and tax pros. Sometimes,
Mhm.
you're like, it's like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. One of them is calling the shots and
Yep.
getting all the credit and being
Yep.
first build and defining the choreography, and the other is doing it all backwards and in high heels. And sometimes it's time
Yep.
for us to pick a new dance partner.
Exactly.
So
Yes. Yes.
Nicole, how did you make that? How did you make that happen? Is it something that has just been natural for you? Or did you have I'm like, and for the listeners who are not watching the video, she just made like a funny face, and I'm gonna guess that her answer is no, it wasn't natural. So I want to hear how she cultivated it.
All right. So for me, like, no, it was definitely not natural. So believe it or not, I'm highly introverted. People
Mhm.
think I'm not because I can turn on, but as quickly as I turn on, I can turn off. And I'm actually off more than I'm actually on. So for me, that it was a struggle to make that shift because again, I'm thinking in my head, especially early in my career when I worked in corporate America, that power meant title, power meant that corner office, power meant that I'm calling the shots and I'm telling people what to do. When I started my firm, that facade quickly started to, I guess, be chipped away at. And so for me now, I know that true power, true owning your story all starts with first your mindset and then also understanding that it is truly having freedom, having that agency, like to build your own table and then put your logo dead snap in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds to me like the original version of power is a is maybe a more traditional
Yes.
male
Yes.
concept of what power is, and you maybe shifted to something that is a bit more personal and feminine.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely that original version was definitely a male mindset driven version because again, corporate America, just like in most fields, is heavily male dominated and it's heavily
Yes.
male dominated with white males. So to me, I'm looking to them as being powerful. Like, I want
Yeah.
to be there, but as a Black woman. And we know how incredibly difficult that can be for any woman.
But doubly so. I want to make sure we're not glossing over that. It is hard enough for white women, but we have to remember that we are also coming from a position of privilege. And our African American sisters are that one rung down on the ladder when it comes to the traditional accepted corporate definitions.
Absolutely, yes. So we have to, like I said, put in twice, three times the effort just to kind of sort of
Oh my gosh,
level the
yes.
playing field.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So you mentioned like making a mindset shift and then
Mhm.
like as time went on, there was a shift in how you viewed power. Was there a catalyst for that? Or was it like, it was a series of stories, or was there anything in particular or a leader that helped you shift that mindset?
So yes, so I talk about her a lot in my social media posts. So it was my boss at the Federal Home Loan Bank. Her name was Michelle, and she was a Black woman. I believe she was the first Black woman that I ever worked for in my career. All my other manager and bosses were white men. And so when I started working for her, then my eyes started to open. I started to see myself like, oh, I can be a boss, even though I've always had intentions of being a boss. But
Like nobody's stopping me, just to be clear.
I always had it. But I didn't see the path of how to get there as a Black woman because all I seen was white men. And so when I saw her, I was like, oh, this is how you do that. And then it
Um,
just went from there.
we talk about that so much, is how important it is for there to be representation, right? So that,
Yes.
women and Black women and other minorities can see people in the roles and in the spaces that they want to get to. And I think you made a really good point, is that it showed you it helped you see that there's a path and what the path was to that, to that place, which is
Exactly.
so important.
Well, if you don't see somebody who looks like you in a position, you think, I mean, the example that I often give, and this is a moment of vulnerability because it's very embarrassing to me that this still happens to me. But I uh when I hear the word doctor, I
Mhm.
presume it's a white male. Now that is just absolutely ridiculous. I have not seen a white male doctor of my like in my own life for many, many years. And yet when you say the word doctor, the first thing that I picture is a white male. These are deep seated institutional societal biases that we all have. And once we see people in those roles who look like us, we start to replace those pictures in our minds
Right.
slowly over time, societally, one person at a time. And we start to go, oh, wait a minute, this is point A, that might be point F over there, but
Right.
there I can connect the dots between here and there.
Exactly. Agree 100% with that. Yeah, same with you. When I think of CEOs or CFOs, immediately a white male pops in my head
Yes.
because
That's
they
so
traditionally
yeah, it's so
dominated the
interesting,
space.
isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
And the same thing happens to me, and it's funny. I'm happy you mentioned that, Nancy, because I don't think people talk about that very much or feel comfortable admitting it, right?
It's embarrassing. Are you kidding me? I don't want to. Okay, I'm going to tell you another thing that happens to me that is horribly embarrassing that is related to this. When I am watching a sports game and a woman is in the locker room interviewing the people after the sports game, right? I'll be like, "Oh God, does she really want to be there? Do they make her do that?" I think that isn't that a horrible thing to say? That is a volunteer. There are women who love sports, there are
Right.
announcers, and yet this is something that I didn't grow up seeing that as something that women did, right? And so
Yeah.
it has taken me all of this time to consciously, you got to go meta and you got to notice that you're doing it. And then you got to go, wait a minute, Nancy, does this actually make sense? And over time, you start to train yourself.
Absolutely. And just to add a finer point on that, I don't want like the audience or your listeners to confuse when we're talking about like these spaces traditionally being owned by our male counterparts. Like dominating is not about making men small, right? Dominating is about making the space honest enough for all of us to fit into it.
Oh,
So
I got chills. Nicole, I got chills. I'm not kidding. I got chills all over. That is absolutely incredible. One of the things that Questian and I really struggle with as far as the She Counts podcast is concerned is that we want to make sure that there's no man hating here.
Mhm.
We get frustrated by the societal structures that are keeping us out.
Right.
Which is exactly what you're talking about with your definition of dominating. It's knowing who you are, how you want to be seen, and then entering those spaces that have not traditionally been opened
Mhm.
to you, and being seen in the way you intend to be seen in those spaces. So I absolutely love that, and you really gave me chills.
Awesome. I love it.
So, what are the spaces that you think that women are still shut out of? I mean, we made a few pretty obvious ones here. We talked about sports, we talked about doctors, we talked about CEOs and CFOs. Talk to us about some of the spaces that you have seen, maybe you've even tried to enter, and yeah.
I actually sat down and wrote a list because when we were talking
Ooh.
about pulling together this podcast, and you said that this is a topic you want me to speak on, I said, okay, let me sit down and think about the spaces women aren't supposed to be, but we're showing up in, right?
Yes.
Of course, one executive leadership, that C-suite, and it's traditionally has been the old boys club. There's bias in the promotion pipelines, and there's an assumption, an incorrect one, that women lack the executive presence, or that we will step back for family. STEM and tech is another one. Finance and venture capital, access to capital has been one of the things long favored or geared towards men. Construction and skilled trades, which is why I started a construction company, because who said women can't wear heels and then put on some steel toe boots at the same time in the same week? Politics and policy making. Like there was a famous quote by Ruth. Make sure I said her name right. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I said
You
that
got
right.
it. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's the
Give
first,
me
like,
some Ruth.
we
She is.
women need to be in the spaces that our policies are being made, because a lot of these policies are being made about us and about our bodies.
That's right.
And then, of course, vocal thought leadership, which is why I love this podcast, because it's geared towards women and ensuring that because men always get the platforms, and then we always have to ask permission, and we're just going to flip that whole notion on its head.
That's right. We're not asking.
Says.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you to say it, so it's perfect. It's what Questian says.
I don't know what one you were going to say, but I think you're saying that we are going to build the table instead of ask to take a seat at it. Yes.
But here's my thing with that. Here's my thing with tables. So I definitely think that there are some tables for women. So my whole philosophy on tables is that I want a seat at the table, but I also want to vote. From
Yes.
corporate America, they have those voting shares and non-voting shares, right? Like, I want not only a seat, but I want to be able to also have a vote in what goes on at that table. So
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
all for building your own tables, but also all for joining tables where I have a voice at.
I want to go back to the point that you made. You mentioned this concept or this view that women don't have executive presence. And I really think we should turn that on its head and redefine what executive presence even looks like and is.
Oh, girl.
Right?
Yes. Yes. That's perfect, because I mean, Ashley Francis often says that women are actually in so many ways. She'll say it in the context of AI that these are large language models, and women tend to be very strong in that area, both in the use of language themselves, and also in the sense of community and getting other people to adopt those things. And so she's advocating for changing, flipping it on its head, that technology is a man's world. Well, you know what? AI is a women's world if we're going to try to, name things one or the other. So I love taking that a step further with what you're saying. Now, how do we do this?
Oh, I have a couple of ways we can do this.
Yes.
All right, so let's first start by owning a room before you actually speak in the room. So what does that look like? That's like walking in a room and acting like you belong.
Yes.
Before anyone approaches you, they're like,
And that's
"Oh,
scary, and it's hard to do, especially if you inside feel like you don't.
it is." And that is there's some philosophy, there's some mindset things around that, right? But listen, do it anyway. Do it scared. So for me,
Somebody's been listening to the
The
podcast.
podcast.
right, presence is power. I think people think you have to walk in the room and be the loudest person there in order to show someone that you're a significance. No, you don't. You walk into a room and you're just there. Your presence says way more than words you could ever speak would say. That's why.
That's so true, because you are not the loudest person in the room, but you really do have this presence, and it dominates a space, and it's amazing. So you're the perfect person to talk on that.
Well, but was that something that you came by naturally, or did you learn how to do that, Nicole?
I had to learn how to do that. That did not come that. Remember, I am naturally geared towards being an introvert. So that definitely comes from a lot of practice, right? A lot of not shrinking myself to make others feel comfortable.
You're making me sit taller.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes. So
You were starting to give us some tips,
yes.
and I interrupted you, but I had to say that, so.
And then of course, name the bias. I'm really good at naming biases, like calling things out that people think I can't do, and then doing it better.
Yes.
I love that you mentioned when you were going through the list of traditionally male dominated spaces, you said construction, and then you said, and that's why I started a construction firm. Like, so
Yeah.
so um did that part come naturally, that desire to, when you saw a space where you were traditionally not invited to join, does that trigger you to step up and make it happen? Because it
Yes.
sounds like there's a relationship there.
Yes, and you just said my motto, but my personal motto is to make it happen. Like I don't believe in leaving anything to chance. If I want something, I'm gonna go after it, and I'm going to get it. If it's something I really want to accomplish.
So if a door doesn't open easily for you, you kick it down.
Absolutely. I kick it down, I put a grenade around it and blow it up.
Wow, I love it. That is absolutely amazing. So I'm curious then if getting your CPA was one of those doors you had to kick down, or whether it was what came after,
Mm,
being respected as a Black
right,
woman with a CPA
right.
talking tech and strategy.
Yes, I will definitely say, get him. I have first. Let me say, I never intended to become a CPA. That's part of my story with my boss at the bank. She was a CPA. I saw that's kind of the path I started going down when I started working for her. So for me, it wasn't easy because again, I never intended. I was in my 30s when I got my CPA, early 30s. So again, I had been working in corporate America about 10, 11 years at this point before I decided to finally sit for the CPA exam. And there, a lot of credibility is behind those three initials, especially for a Black woman, right? Because
Yes.
when you see a Black woman, well, probably when most people see a Black woman, they don't immediately think, oh, she's a CPA or she's in the type of a professional industry, right? And so for me, it allowed me to gain the respect of others that probably I wouldn't have gotten. I mean, I would have gotten it because I have a strong work ethic, but it would have taken me a lot longer to kind of overcome that hurdle for me.
That is why I got my CPA as well.
Yep.
Nothing about, so, my master's degree was what taught me to do the things that I didn't already know how to do.
Mhm.
So I had the knowledge, and I had already been running my firm for a long time, and I had worked in other as an accountant at other companies, and so I had the experience, I had the education, I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the respect that came with those three letters.
Right.
So, as a white woman, and one of the things that makes me crazy sometimes in Ask a CPA or bookkeeping buds, or at the conferences, I will hear a colleague refer to themselves as just a bookkeeper.
Mhm.
And that makes me insane because there's no just about it.
Right.
Bookkeepers are essential. Bookkeepers are valued. Bookkeepers count, literally also. And but there is a societal looking down on bookkeepers, and I did know that if I got those magic three letters like you said, that there would be a shift in the way that I was treated and respected and the credibility I was given.
Yes, and proceed, right, and a lot of people say that it didn't change anything about them, but it definitely changed things about me in my life and how people perceived me, as a
Yes.
professional, so
Did it change your confidence level?
no, no, listen, I got confidence in spades. I got confidence for, like, probably for the whole world.
You're like, "That comes natural."
That does come natural. So no, for me, it just changed how it's perceived and how I approach things because I knew I was the expert, and so like if you came at me, you better come correct because I'm going to challenge you if you're not.
Do you think that people have, I mean, been surprised, right? Or you're saying you got your CPA, it gave you credibility when you talk about M&A or you start to talk about tax strategy or technology leadership?
I do because I think people think, what does this little girl know about any of that? Because I don't really talk about it a lot on social media. I may mention it here and there, but I don't really talk about it a lot on social media. Like, for instance, if you notice a lot of my social media posts, my personal ones, I rarely really talk about the technical side of tax or
Yeah.
accounting. It's not that I don't know it. I know it very well. It's just not something I choose to discuss. Like, I don't feel like I have to flaunt my smarts in order for
Yeah.
someone to believe I'm competent. I'm competent. I know I'm competent, and I don't have to prove that to you unless you're my client, right?
Well,
Right.
and everyone should,
Yes.
follow you on LinkedIn because you're not posting technical things, but you're one of my favorite sources for, daily humor. So
And some really perfectly timed inspiration and reminders. That is amazing how often, Nicole, I will be in the comments. I
Um,
will say, how did you know
yes, I
that
see.
today was the day that I needed to hear this? It's like she gets in my head sometimes. It's a little creepy, but in a good way.
like, I can feel
Definitely
it.
a follow on LinkedIn. And I'm curious though. Question was asking if people get surprised when, as you say, this little girl, what's she doing talking about these big topics? And has that changed over time as you've received some external credibility? So, for example, Forbes 200 and this recent
Yes,
feature by Kelly Phillips Herb, in who, by the way, is one of my favorite writers. It was
yes.
such a fangirl moment when I finally got to meet her. I love that woman so much. Do you feel like that external credibility has been part of people hearing you differently or seeing you differently?
I do, yes. I do think that additionally lends to the credibility and actually boosts it a bit, right?
Yes.
Because you're being quoted or you're being featured in these very what's the word? Credible um credible articles, magazines. So for me, it definitely gave a boost. But again, I'm all about, like, listen, I'm all about being so good that they can't ignore you, right?
Ooh.
Love that.
That is lovely. You know, that it makes me think of wow. I have noticed about myself that I have pursued mastery in complex areas. I'm going to use business law as an
Mhm.
example, to because I was talked down to men in those areas, or by men talking down to me in those spaces where women aren't expected. And so I'll just dive into that and I'll be like, "Oh, really? You want to talk down to me about it? Maybe I will take a
Right.
few classes on this and show you exactly where I am and who I am." And that's been really empowering to me. So I love that you're saying that you're you have this internal intrinsic belief in yourself in terms of confidence, but that's what gives you the energy you need to go learn all the things,
Yes.
and then they can't ignore you, and so you start getting called out and getting the external credibility as well. That's a
Exactly, yes. All
very
about
inspiring
excellence.
path.
I'm really big on being excellent in everything that I do. So, and that just, again, that just means, like, and it's a meme actually. I have this meme that I love to look at, and it's a picture of someone, and it says, when someone says you can't do anything, do it twice and take pictures. And so for me, so for me, in a way, it's like, oh, you thought I couldn't do that, but let me not only do it once, I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna send you
Right.
the receipts, right?
Yeah, you're about to get schooled. Yeah. I think the 3 of us have that in common. And
Mhm,
I think driven women, it's like the more somebody, because I've been underestimated my entire life. My intelligence, my skills,
mhm.
underestimated my entire life. As soon as someone underestimates me, that just gives me extra drive. They
Yeah,
don't realize that instead of knocking me down, it builds me up and it makes me, it's like, I will show you.
yeah, it gives you fuel, and
Fuel.
then, but here's it's 2 parts to that though. So when I was, like, building my resume per se, in the accounting space as a firm owner, like, I had that same drive. When someone said I couldn't do nothing, oh, I was gonna show them, right? So I was gonna prove something to
You're like,
them.
watch me, watch
Yes,
me.
and then it started to shift where now I have the confidence. I have, like, this external credibility. Now it's more so like I used to do things to prove others wrong, right? But now I do it more so to prove myself right. And
You
so
know something
Woo!
something that is interesting, I think, about that too is, like, in my journey with those things happening to me, I realized that by the time I had accomplished whatever it was I had set out to prove somebody wrong about, I didn't care what they thought about it at all.
exactly. Right. Yep.
So, how tell us, how have you been able to maintain your voice and identity as a leader? I know you have really strong boundaries, but how did you set those boundaries?
I'm very stubborn. That's probably why I'm quite stubborn. And so, like, and I like doing things my way. Ask my husband. And so for me, it was just like, these are my non-negotiables. Like, these are the things I won't bend on. And you can like them or not. I don't care. But this is how it's going to play out in my life. Be a part of it, be a part of that, or don't. So
And now how do you balance that with being chief hello officer and leading with warmth, and, how do those work with each other?
all right, so let me just tell you that I I I am warm but firm. So a
Warm
lot of
but
my
firm.
yeah, so it was funny because I was telling Misty maybe a couple of years ago, I was like, "I think my clients are scared of me." And she was like and she was like, she said, maybe not. She said, maybe they just respect you. And I said, oh, she totally reframed that. Because in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm just this very firm and rigid and cold person. It's like, I don't think that's it at all, because if that was the case, you wouldn't have any clients. I just think that you do a good job of balancing like being approachable, being warm, but also being like that firm and having those hard boundaries in place. So for me,
I want my clients to be a little bit afraid of me. I really do. Not a lot afraid of me,
just a tiny
but
bit, right?
Just a
just
little.
a tiny bit, because it is very motivational for them to know that I might be disappointed in them if they make some poor decisions. And it does cause them just being a teeny bit afraid, not of me or of the ramifications, but like of me being disappointed in them. They don't want that. They don't want to upset me, because if I'm happy, we're all happy.
Mhm.
Right? If they're keeping, it's true, because if they're keeping me happy, it means they're probably doing things that are healthy for them and their business.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just a teeny bit.
Just a little bit of fear. Yeah. Yeah. And the important thing is balancing the warmth with the boundaries in the right situations and at the right time.
Exactly. Right. There's a time to be very empathetic, and there's a time to be very like, this is the way it is. Yes.
With that in mind, how does showing up as your full self help others do the same? So, as Nancy always says,
Mhm.
flying your freak flag, so to speak.
Okay, now to be fair, I didn't say Nicole flies her freak flag. That's my freak flag that I'm flying. But I do. We're all members. As a matter of fact, I believe we're all board certified members of the Theater of Public Speaking. Misty helps us, brainstorm and access like the ideation, the topics that would be most important to us. One of the things that I love to talk about is encouraging other people to fly their freak flags, because I was always too much. I was always, trying to do all the things and be all the things and enthusiastic about all the things, because I genuinely actually am that excited about all of the things. And I believe very strongly that when we allow ourselves to shine, that inspires others to do the same. And so we can call it a freak flag if you like, but we can
Oh yes,
also
it's called a
say
freak
that
flag, definitely.
you is that you also shine. You also shine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how do you do that? How do you do it, and how do you show others?
All right, so going back to being authentic. So to me, authenticity is a permission slip. And the freak flag or your freak flag works a lot like Wi-Fi in some it does. But people probably don't think about it that way. It's like Wi-Fi in that people that are in range of you being who you are, they get that signal and they log into theirs. So they get their free flag.
Ooh.
So
This is why Nicole and I connect so well. And Nancy.
So again, it's all about giving people like permission to be themselves. And when they see you thriving as your unfiltered self, they're like, wait, I can be myself and do
Yes.
this, and this.
Yep, I
Oh
agree.
my
It's so
god.
true.
I love that. I am absolutely going to think of that Wi-Fi content. My freak flag is I have quoted Nicole in numerous talks, and you're going to get quoted with that one as well when I talk about the freak flag. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
So tell us, what does it mean to buddy up with the bots?
Ah, yes. Setting up with the bot. So yeah, that was from my interview with Kelly. With
Yes.
Best Girl. So okay, so AI is making a grand stand in our profession. And there are so many people that are still have not latched on to it yet. Like we talk about a lot in our circle, and we feel like it's very prevalent, but it's not. There are so many people, so many firms that have not touched AI yet, right? So budding up with the bot just basically means like we're going to use these tools to our advantage. Like we're going to buddy up with them. They're going to be our friends in a way to make our work lives easier, our personal lives easier. And from a work standpoint, let's just take that as an example. So your bot can seriously act as a tireless junior associate. Like we know we talk about hiring in the pipeline. Make them your junior associate. They never need to take vacation. They never get tired. They can do all of the things that you really don't want to do from an administrative standpoint, possibly from an analytical standpoint. And then we can use our real people, our people assets to like do the heavy lifting when it comes to things like judgment and empathy and imagination. Like bots
And
imagine.
to your earlier point, to communication.
Yes. So bots can't, they don't have any imagination. Have you put things in any generative AI tool and asked it to imagine things? No, they're gonna pull from so many other sources. They
Yes.
can't think of anything creatively by themselves. That's what we're here for.
That's right.
Right? And we
Yeah.
can utilize that tool to expand our imagination, expand our output and our outcomes for not only ourselves, but for our clients.
There was one quote in particular from that recent Forbes article
Mhm.
that you had said that you help redesign business processes by reducing or automating non-value added tasks and focusing on improving productivity. And here was the part that resonated, and quality.
Yes.
You're not just using AI and automations for efficiency.
Mhm.
You're actually improving the quality of the deliverables that you're offering the clients.
Exactly. And I do think that we have to learn how to layer the two, both
Mhm.
bot and human interaction, right? Like people are only relying on the bots or they're always doing things manually, but they should be dance partners, right? Nancy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it when you talk about dance. Well, I also love this whole I'm doing a session at Intuit Connect later this year on a similar topic on balancing automation and advisory without losing that client experience. But one of the things that I love that you believe, that I also believe, is that it's not just about not losing that client experience. I don't think it's either or. I think that we can actually, as you were saying about improving quality, I think that we can actually use AI and automation tools to both improve efficiency and actually improve the client experience and improve our client relationships, because there are so many different ways to customize and personalize that we might not have time for otherwise.
Exactly. Absolutely agree with that. We just have to learn how to balance the two so that
Mhm.
clients
Yes,
don't feel like we over automated the relationship, right? In some cases.
absolutely.
Yeah, which is easy to do.
It
It's
is.
the shiny object syndrome, as we say, right?
Yes.
And I think that these new tools, they really allow women to design their firms around their lives, not the other way around. And you've got your whole series, Freedom Friday. Um, And I know that that has a lot to do with leveraging tech to protect your time and energy.
It is. So I encourage I use as much tech tools as possible because again, you only have so many hours in a day and there are so many things I want to get done and it's just not possible because I have to sleep. And so for me it's all about okay, how do I get this done without having to have without actually having to use my own brain power to get it done. Right. So for me, and I encourage my team to do the same thing. Like hey, you don't have to have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
But you'll need to be able to audit what is provided to you from using those tools and then relay that or use your judgment to kind of massage the outputs to get the results you want.
So I'm curious, why is this transition in the profession a major opportunity for women? Do you see tech as a disruptor and,
Yes. So for me, take a flip the script. Even more so than it has done in the past, just because it's rapidly evolving, and like how I mentioned, there are so many people that haven't even like dabbed their toe in it yet. Like they're gonna get left behind. And for women, because women now here's funny. So Ashley is like the queen of AI in our
Mm.
profession,
Right.
in my humble opinion. And so for women, we have the technical know-how, but we also have the emotional intelligence. And so we can marry the two and get things done faster, quicker, more efficiently, without having a bunch of noise in between. So for me, the tools are catching up with the market, and we have to be open to using them to better our lives and the lives of the people that depend on us, like our family, our team members, anybody that is relying on us to like give them a better outcome. So that shows up a number of different ways for women. For one, how Nancy mentioned my Freedom Friday post, right?
Yes. Yeah, I saw that today.
So for me, I want to use that to give people, like, have people think about, like, how can I give myself a more free life? Tech does that. And if you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
utilizing it, then you're pretty much shackling yourself to how it's always been done, which we all hate that saying, how it's so.
Oh, so much. Yes. We were talking about that recently. It came up and it was like, oh, this idea like, oh, well, why do you, give me an explanation as to why you do something a certain way. It's like, oh, it's always done that way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Yep.
no, it's like the worst reason.
Exactly. And because women have mastered, I guess, efficiency out of necessity, it's not something like you said, it's kind of we no one's born efficient, right? Everyone's kind of born on the same playing field. All of us are highly inefficient as babies.
Yeah, that's true. No joke.
I
Yeah.
love your idea of highly efficient babies, but you're that's a really good point. We cry when we need something and we have our needs met. We, take things in, we put them out.
Yeah.
As time grows, we learn how to be more efficient. And women are particularly uh,
Yes.
adept at that because of all the different things we're juggling and just to get more time into our day, right? To get things done.
Oh my
So again,
gosh.
I think
Yes.
women are perfectly positioned to like make a big major splash in the tech industry. And will be more likely be the change agents that kind of keep this thing going.
I
I couldn't
completely
agree
agree.
more.
Yeah.
Yes, we're both
Got
cheerleading
a
this.
consensus here.
No, I'm going to add to this that I also think that because women are already used to adapting to bias, we're reading the room,
Yeah.
we're recognizing where we have spaces and where we don't, and we're working within those niches. I actually would argue that we're in some ways more nimble. And that what Question was just saying about how much she hates, oh, it's always been done that way.
Yep.
I think that women have a unique ability. I, I shouldn't say unique, but I think that we are more predisposed to uh, adapting,
Yes.
and this is a major shift. It's a disruption, as you were saying, and I think that there are many reasons for this being our time to shine, to fly those freak flags and
Yes.
to shine and to give up our Wi-Fi so that other people can pick up that signal.
Yeah, absolutely. And we keep coming back to dominating and leading, and hopefully, I mean, I think all of us agree that we can and should and probably will dominate in that space. What's one moment where you knew that you were leading in a space that wasn't designed for you?
I would like to kick that question back to you and say, what space was ever built for me?
Oh my gosh,
Every space.
touche. Yes, every space. Yeah, so good. Yeah,
Yes.
There are a
So
lot of women out there right now going, "Oh,
yes,
she understands me."
yeah,
like
yeah.
I can think of so many moments, like starting my own firm. Like the first entrepreneurship is already hard. It's super hard. and then owning a professional services firm like a CPA or tax firm, that's doubly hard now because we're not good salespeople. Okay. And our business relies on us getting people to buy our services. So just being able to kind of, I guess, turn those stereotypes of what an accountant looks like, what an EA looks like, what a CPA looks like has been
And even
difficult.
what a salesperson looks like,
Right,
because you were
right.
just saying we're not good at sales. Well, no, we're not good at the traditional male defined sense of sales in direct sales, but we are excellent, absolutely excellent at personal relationships, which
Yes,
Oh,
is the foundation for that. So,
and we just have to find that ideal client that all that's important to them, the relationship part of it, because we're really good at that. You're right. Like I oh now listen, I'm not I'm a humble bragger. So
as you should be,
so
as we
I
all
always
should
say
be.
that.
We all should be, right? We
Yes,
were told not to brag when we were
right. We're supposed to be
you should
modest and not
brag.
brag, but
Yeah.
like I built my firm strictly on relationships, whereas I didn't really have to. Like a lot of people said a lot of people talked about churn. I was like, whoa, what is that? Because I didn't have a lot of churn early in my firm because relationship is what my clients value. And I made sure to nurture that, which is why I was able to build my firm without having to add so many clients every year. I just kept taking care of my current clients and just adding more services to what they needed.
question, this is exactly what Justine Lackey was talking about from the incubator, one of our amazing sponsors and supporters and listeners since day one. She's talking about how retention is really where it's at. Sales sounds
Yes.
sexy, but retention, and that's
Yeah.
based on personal relationships and making sure the client feels respected and heard and valued.
And I don't know if I would say this is always a positive thing, but I have lost very few clients. My firm's 5 years old, and I
Mhm.
can count on one hand the number of clients that I've lost.
Wow, that's
Exactly. That's
fantastic.
And
important.
so
We
it's
need to
like
talk
this.
about more of that. We talk about growth, 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 but how are you growing? Like, are you growing because you're constantly adding new clients, or are you just take? Are you or I like to say I super serve, or are you super serving your current clients?
Yes, yes, always looking for opportunities to
Yes.
service them more. I mean, that's my go-to, right? I would prefer to do that because the whole onboarding process for new clients is time consuming and tedious, and you don't know if you hope it's the right fit, but you never know if it's going to be the right fit until you're already kind of, in
In
the
the relationship.
that's right. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to make an analogy between having your client base take up more space rather than, the lateral growth as opposed to that vertical growth. I want to make an analogy between that and taking up more space in your world and in the spaces where they are traditionally male dominated. Nicole, what advice do you have for women who want to take up more space?
Ha. Oh, let me think about that. Who wants to take up more space? Take it. I said
Just
the
do
first one.
It's all about the bold move.
Right. I say
it.
take again. It all goes back to like I know we haven't touched on this a lot, but imposter syndrome, like stamp it out. Like you're not an imposter. Yes, there are things that you feel you may not be ready for, but do it anyway. Like I
Yes.
think Nancy talks about like grow into it. Like
Yeah.
you
Yes.
don't have to have it all figured out from day one, but you know something. Like you wouldn't have gotten this far without knowing anything, but you know something. Use that to level you up. So I would say first get out your head. Get out your own head. That's your worst enemy. And then start speaking life into that thing that you're trying to accomplish. Say it out loud. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Say I am a badass speaker. I am a exceptional accountant. I know how to do this, this, and this. Even if you don't know how to do it, okay? Say it anyway. Because eventually your mind is going to start believing it. And eventually your actions are going to start following what your mind believes. And eventually you're going to be exactly what you said you're going to be.
Yeah, and that's what they tell you to do too, right? Like manifest and have mantras and
Yes.
like say these things to yourself over and over again. Oh, we're gonna see I can't read it to
This
us, Nancy.
Post-it note, for those of you who are watching the video of this, I'm holding up a Post-it note from the Theater of Public Speaking Advanced Retreat. We not only did this ourselves, but we got to see the Post-it notes from last year's retreat, which the two of you were
Ooh!
on. And these were the affirmations that we wrote down that are just like what you're saying. I have everything I need. I am a masterpiece. I am my vision board. These
Love
are
it.
some of the statements that
Yes.
women in our session, and then we got to see all of yours hanging on a beautiful display. Oh, you've got one
I
right there.
still have it. This is the one
If
that
extraordinary were a picture, I would be framed. Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
that was actually Nicole that said this.
Ooh, Nicole has the best quotes.
She does. She has the best quotes, hand down. You need to write a book of quotes.
I think you said that before.
I have.
But of course, this touches on the role of community and peer support.
Yes.
Women hyping up women, like the two of you meeting at Theater of Public Speaking, and
Yes.
my then being inspired later on by the experiences that you had, and even some of your exact words that you did not know were going to come back to us, but they did, and they inspired all of us in our amazing advanced cohort as well.
I love
Well,
that.
Nicole, we are so grateful to you for being here today. This has just been
Oh, we're done. We're
absolutely.
not done, are we?
Oh my gosh, that's a first, and I love it so much. She's like, wait, okay,
Right.
so
You have to ask me the question about mentorship or sponsorship. Like I was so looking forward to
okay.
that question.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll
So-
let it. We'll cut something else out, and we'll make sure that we have that so that because
I
we've
think
been
we
recording
should
for
just
over an
let
hour.
it.
but-
We just let it go. Yeah, I mean, we'll just
Let
do a
it
long
roll.
one, right?
Let
Let
it
it
roll.
roll.
Go
This
for
is
it.
gonna be like, yeah.
2 minutes.
You're right.
Yes.
She's like, I want this one. Okay. So, and this is something that we talk about on, I feel like it comes up on a lot of podcasts
Does.
is do you think that mentorship or sponsorship is more important when you're stepping into male dominated territory?
All right. So for me, so I definitely think they're both important, right? In an ideal world, you want to have both. But what's most important for me, and I'll give you a quick story on why that is. What's most important is sponsorship. Mentors guide, but sponsors vouch. And let me tell you why.
Oh wait, you have to re-say that because that is too good. You and your incredible quotes. I keep
repeat
writing
that.
them down. Mentorship.
Yeah,
Guide.
mentors guide, but sponsors vouch. And I
Love
say
it.
that because back in 2020, right? That's the COVID year. It was August of 20. And I actually looked this up in my email when I saw the notes from Questian. I said, oh, let me find out when this happened. So I went back to my emails. I found the email. It was an email from the AICPA. So I'm on a number of committees with the AICPA. And in my wildest dream did I ever think I would work for the AICPA. They're sort of like the town Oz in the Wizard of Oz. Like it's there. There's wizards happening. They're doing their thing for the profession.
They're doing their
But
thing.
you'll never go there, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. I love that you put it
Such
in
a good
those
analogy.
terms.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. Well, and that's one of the reasons that for CPAs such as myself to see you on the AICPA town halls, which I am their biggest fan. Lisa Simpson told me that I'm not technically her biggest fan because somebody got to it before I did. So I am her second biggest fan. But when I see your face show up on the AICPA town halls, I go, "Oh, wait a minute, Oz."
And Lisa's gonna kill me.
She found the guy with the behind the curtain.
Yes. Well, Lisa's gonna kill me for saying this, but so back in August,
You better watch out because Lisa listens to this.
I
podcast.
know Jeff Rule reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I think you'll be a great fit for the Engage Planning Committee, the Practitioners Planning Committee." Back then it was Practic, so practitioners and the tech committees were together. And I was like, I had no idea this committee existed. First of all, let me say that. And then I get an email, maybe not long after he said that, from, I guess, one of the producers, one of the managers that was over the Engage conference. And she was like, "Hey, Jeff Drew dropped us your name, and we think you'll be a great fit for the planning committee. And we want you to be on the practitioners planning committee." I was like, "Oh, awesome." So all I had to do really was submit an application, go through a round of interviews, and I was selected to be on the committee. And I'm still on the committee. I'm the chair actually this year for the practitioners planning committee. So for me, mentors, like, they help you like say the right things. They help ensure that that you are that you know the unwritten rules, right? But sponsors, they rewrite the guest list for you so that your name is on it. So you need sponsors to get you on the list, right? And then when you're on the list, your mentors help you stay on the list and guide you as you go through your journey. So that's why I think sponsors are critically more important than mentors. When it
Which
comes,
is why we also want men listening.
Yes, and Jeff
right?
Drew is a white male. Let me just say that, okay?
Good job, Jeff.
Absolutely. And you're making me think of Mark Gallegos, who was actually on yesterday's AICPA town hall. You know, he saw me speak at Intuit Connect on reasonable compensation. He said, "That's the best talk I've ever seen on reasonable compensation. We need you to speak at Engage."
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, and so like it's opening those doors that you might not otherwise they yeah, I love what you said. They rewrite the guest list so
They
that your
do.
name is on it. That helps me think really more specifically about the difference between sponsorship and mentorship. Thank you for that.
We're just going to have to write a list of quotes just from this episode.
Oh, I've been writing them down. You know me. I voraciously take notes. I have a whole list of Nicole quotes that I'm actually going to put in the show notes just so that people don't have to take their own notes during this. They can make a whole series of inspiring post-it notes from Nicole's quotes from this show. Now am I allowed to sign off?
Yes, we're good now.
I didn't want to do
I had
anything
to give Jeff a
prematurely.
shout out.
We'd like to ask listeners to follow our She Counts podcast LinkedIn page and to join in on the conversation by sharing under the episode, "Don't Call Me Darling." What are some spaces that you have felt excluded from and are now inspired to join, to dominate? I'm going to change that. Not just to join, but to dominate.
To dominate. That's right. And before we sign off, I want to leave you with a quote by none other than our guest, Nicole Davis, who is full of witty sayings, as we now know. And it is, "Darling is cute, but I prefer Miss Domination."
Okay, but can I keep calling you Nicole?
Oh, yes, of course.
All right.
I'm going to get her a name.
I
Next
love
time I
that.
see her name tag's going to say Miss Domination on it.
Ms. Domination.
Yeah.
Nicole, thanks to you and to all our listeners today for being here with us on She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting.
If something in today's episode hit home for you, well, that's exactly why we're doing this.
So you feel seen, heard, and never alone.
Remember that you can get CPE credit for listening at earmark.app. Links to that and any other resources will be in the show notes.
And please subscribe and leave us a review because it helps other people find the podcast. And share this with another woman in accounting who needs to hear it too.
Many thanks again to our amazing guest, Nicole Davis. We're so glad that you could join us today. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
It was a blast. I feel like it was really just the three of us hanging out. It was wonderful. And thanks to our listeners as well. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks.